What's going on, sports card hobby family? Today we're talking about sports card stores, sports card shops. Are they all going to close down in 2024? I know there's been a lot of talk about this. There's going to be a big struggle with sports card stores, but I did talk to one of my buddies. I ran into him at the Bucks-Saints game here going back on Sunday, and it doesn't sound to me like they're too concerned. I will dive into it. Stick around. Thanks for joining me again here today, guys. It's another day. It's another sports card video. We are back. We are here for you. Huge shout out to today's video sponsor, Whatnot. You know what? Maybe you want to get out to the card show, but it is 37 degrees outside, or maybe the local card shop as we're talking about today. But man, you want to buy singles, but you just don't want to get off the couch. Just log into Whatnot. It's all there for you. And it's not just sports cards. It's all sorts of different collectibles. So definitely check out Whatnot. I've got a link in the video description as well as in the pinned comments to take you there. All right, on Instagram, it's Tampa Card Shop Bryant and Miss Sports Cards. I ran into them as my Saints were really putting it to the Bucks here this past weekend. That made me feel pretty good. But we talked a little bit about the landscape of the store because they have a store there in the downtown Tampa area. Not downtown, but kind of that Dale Mabry area, if I remember correctly. And they've done very well over the last few years. Bryant, kind of a longtime Tom Brady guy. And so, of course, Brady came to the Bucks. Sadly, not really sadly for me, I'm very happy. Tom Brady retired away from the Buccaneers, and now they're trying to regroup with Baker Mayfield, who actually has looked pretty good, frankly, for the Bucks. That Bucks team overall has been pretty solid. It's just the NFC South has just been kind of up and down. None of those teams can really find a lot of consistency. I do anticipate that changing in the years to come here. There's teams that are kind of doing some good things and building, and so we'll see what comes of it. But I was asking him just because I wanted to get kind of an idea of what was going on, and he said their holiday season was insane as far as selling. They're always buying and selling, of course, as dealers, and they also really make it a point to get out to card shows. They are at the National. They are also, I believe, in Dallas quite a bit, and then they are going to be at Atlanta Culture Collision. I will be there as well at the end of January. Definitely come out and see me if you happen to be in that area. It's going to be a big show, and I was just thinking about, we're talking about shops here today, but man, just looking at kind of just getting the read on things, I think card shows are going to be huge again in 2024. I've talked about it. It's cheap entertainment when you compare it to a lot of other things. You can get out to a card show and just browse. You don't even have to buy anything, but all the different companies that are there, the dealers that are there, all the different cards that are there. It's just a fun afternoon. And so, but going back to card shops, there's a lot of talk about how is, Fanatics and what they're doing. What is that going to do for card shops? What if they can't get allocation? And I do think there's been kind of a nice little cash cow for those that do have allocation. And I do think that's going to change over time. Not to say that those stores are not going to get any more, but it just seems inevitable that Fanatics/Topps is going to be more and more and more direct to consumer. It just seems that that's the way that it's going to go. I do think that they're going to reward certain hobby stores, hobby shops that are doing a lot of volume, but I do think it's going to just be based on volume. It's going to be based on results and not about who you are, or handshake deals, or politics, and who do you know at the distributor, and who do you know. I don't think Michael Rubin cares about any of that. And I'll be perfectly honest. I think it's going to be more of like, who's delivering for us? They get product. Who's not? They don't. I don't think it has to do with who's schmoozing at the Topps conference or, at whatever, at the National. I just don't see it. I think it's going to change a lot as far as allocation is concerned. But you know what I think is also going to change, and I think it's already been changing. I think a lot of card shops have seen the writing on the wall for this. They're not necessarily relying on that. I think that they might be looking at that as kind of a bonus. So, you own a card shop, if you're getting allocation for certain products, I think a lot more card shops are just looking at that as like, if we get it, great. Otherwise, we're pivoting our business. We have to bring in other streams of revenue, and you're seeing it. And I do think that's a lot of the reason why you do see kind of an uptick in repacks. Whether you like repacks, don't like repacks, there's good ones, there's not so good ones. There's actually a lot of not so good ones. I do think there are some good ones, depending on what you're looking for. But I think card shops are just going to maneuver a little bit. Now, will card shops go out of business? Of course they will. Every industry has stores that go out of business. Restaurants, a lot of restaurants go out of business. But in our little world, I think that it could get magnified, or it could feel like, oh man, there's all these card shops that are closing. It's probably just a natural way of things anyway in any industry. We've had boom years here over the last 3 or 4 years. Really, actually, probably for more like the last 6 years, if we're going back in time a little bit, because the pandemic just supercharged everything. But you were really seeing a movement upward as far as interest on this stuff, really going back to 2016, and then it just maneuvered up. I think there's a lot of 30 and 40-year-olds that hit their midlife crisis / nostalgia years where they're looking for, childhood hobby type stuff again. And they found this, and they still are finding it. They still are finding the sports card hobby and just other collectibles in general. And when talking to Bryant, a lot of it, football, a lot of football cards, even though we're in season, even though we're not, it's not August and it's the best selling time, in quotation marks, for football cards. I think too, if you have a local presence wherever you are, and he's in Tampa, he's in a big city, there is a lot of opportunity for local customers that aren't necessarily high-end buyers. They might just want to buy packs of cards, or they might just want to collect their favorite Bucks players. And I think that that's nationwide, but definitely in Tampa, he said, look, there's a lot of people that are looking for Bucks stuff. And maybe he's selling a lot of Mike Allstott. Maybe he's selling a lot of Warwick Dunn, Derek Brooks, some of the kind of those glory days, Warren Sapp. They won a title there too, going back in time a little bit. And then, of course, you got Brady that was just there. Mike Evans is popular in Tampa. I don't know if he's going to stay in Tampa, but there's local flavor there. And I know that Ryan Card Collector too, it's the same story where he is in Ohio, where he's doing a lot of Ohio State stuff. He's doing a lot of Brown stuff. So if you have kind of that local customer base, and I think that, I don't know if we can't discount, not even just kind of how cool it is to go to a card show, but I think we also can't discount the amount of people that just want to go hang out at a card shop. And even if it's just to browse, peruse, talk about some stuff for a few minutes, that camaraderie that's there at the local card shop, man, if you're really doing that right, if you're running a shop that's really, tailored to kind of your regulars, you got regular people that come in. Shout out to Mike's Retro Trading Cards. I know he had a shop going back to the 90s. And the other guys on the podcast, Joe Day and EP, if I remember correctly, they were customers at the card shop. That's how they met. And then they've just known each other for 25 years or whatever it's been. That is the sort of thing that can happen. And so I think a lot of it is too with ownership is what kind of, personality, let your personality shine through, and just looking for other ways to generate revenue that might not be just, allocation from the manufacturer. And I keep on getting feedback from card shop owners or dealers. Hey, I don't need Fanatics. My business is not contingent on Fanatics doing anything. And so this is what I want to see as we head into 2024 and 2025, especially. Fanatics, there's so much talk about how they're going to control things and how they're going to dictate and this and that. But there's 100+ years of cards before these new products that are coming out. There's a lot of different ways to create revenue in the sports card and collectibles industry. And so will shops be able to adapt? And I think they already have. I think there's a lot of shops that have been maneuvering, and we'll see how that plays out here as we move into the new year. All right, guys, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.